And we're live. Welcome back, Shifties. Welcome back to Shift the Journey. I'm your host, Tito Amogus. This is the platform where we get to talk to somebody about their career journey. So if you're in the mood for switching a job or a career, if you're like trying to figure out how to get from point A to point B, we can talk about our journeys, and maybe hopefully you can get something useful out of it. Tonight's guest is my good friend Eric Pie Chart Hoffman. Let's give him a hand.
Hello, hello. Thank you
That's
for having me.
You're welcome. Thanks for being here. Yeah, that's I know there are people out there who know my disdain for pie charts, like actual pie charts. You're not actually lumped in there. I don't even remember what it was. I know we were having a conversation. So so he's in my phone as pie chart. But anyway, so yeah, Eric and I worked together not too long ago. What
Couple
was it?
years. It's been two
It's
years.
been 2 years. Okay, pretty long ago. Worked together for about a year and a half, and I went on somewhere else, but stayed in touch. And when I was in DC last summer, we went and ate at this like fusion Vietnamese restaurant. What was
Yes.
that thing that we had? Well, oh yeah, yeah. So we had like it was like bao buns, and there was we had the one that was like a banh mi, which was amazing
Yep.
because like it belongs, right? And the
Yeah.
other one was like chicken parmesan or something,
Yeah.
right?
It was. They were really swinging for the outfield there,
It was
but
bizarre. It was just bizarre. But anyway, all right. So let's hop in. So I know like I looked at your LinkedIn because I didn't know like when we worked together that you had been in all kinds of different things.
yeah.
I just thought, oh, this guy's a project manager. He's been a project manager for a while, managing projects. But looking at your LinkedIn, I was like, oh man, he's done a few things. So tell me where you're from originally.
Yeah. I'm actually. I'm from a place in Virginia called Woodbridge, Virginia. It's like we really call ourselves Northern Virginia, but it's pretty far down there. But it is right near Quantico. So if you're familiar with the military bases, Quantico's right there. And so it's about an hour or so outside of DC. Depends on when you're going, if there's rush
Mm,
hour. But yeah, I grew up there for all my life, and I got to experience DC as both a kid and an adult at this point.
yeah, DC is pretty interesting. I know I was there during a very interesting time. Um, it's like there were parades going on,
Yes.
like like craziness happening. But I remember running from a parade, which I'd never done before. I was just trying to get back to my hotel before like 2,000
Before
people
the streets,
who
yeah.
were yelling and chanting stuff and had signs. I was like, I just want to get back to my hotel. So, um, yeah, you went to school, right?
I did, yeah. I went to James Madison University, so a Virginia
Oh,
school out in
yeah.
Harrisonburg, and was actually went for health administration. So
Interesting.
great that I ended up not in health administration, but I really do. I loved the health field. I took one look at the pre med degrees and all that kind of stuff, those programs. I was like, you know what? I am so good at numbers and putting things together and the business aspect of all of this. Maybe I should check out this health administration. And it was kind of a sealed deal from there.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. So, did you end up with a? Did you get an internship?
I did.
Mhm.
Yeah, so part of our program in undergrad, you didn't technically get to graduate until you had a fully signed off internship. So I
Yeah.
interned up in DC in at Georgetown Hospital, and
Okay.
I did a little bit of everything, as most interns do. But I was doing kind of payroll, HR, a little bit of finance work, a little bit of accounting, which kind of set the scene for where I would go in my future career. But yeah, it was a big crash course in not only healthcare and administration, but being an adult. Those internships are great for really teaching you what you need to figure out as an adult.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
I sure can. Yep.
Okay. My microphone, I think I need a new microphone because I actually accidentally
Uh
bumped it and my computer was telling me that it disconnected. So just
Oh. Well, I will let you know if I
all
lose
right.
you.
Okay. Oh, you know what? Before I forget, which I already did forget, in the intro, if you're out there in internet land, whether you're on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, if you have something like a question or you want to chime in on something, have a lot of followers who like to put their little jokes in there, but whatever. So if you if you got something to say that you want us to talk about, put something in the chat and we talk about it. All right, let's get back to the your journey. So how long was your internship?
So I worked this summer, basically. We
Hmm.
most colleges end in May, and worked pretty much straight through to August when it was. I got my real degree at that point, and I got to turn into a real position at Georgetown. Um,
Okay, so they converted you, or did they have another position?
I think they had another position open. Healthcare doesn't get too many. They're always looking at very tight budgets over there. So I think they had one open, and I just so happened to kind of move right in there.
Hmm. So then, what was that like for? Did you feel like you were prepared? Did you feel like your internship and your schooling prepared you for that?
Yeah, I think from a skills perspective, there's a lot that you learn in school that is just not immediately applicable. There's a
Hmm.
lot of concepts that you'll pick up and things that you should know about that just don't help you, because what you're really doing when you first start working is just trying to figure out how to manage a 9 to 5, how to be an adult, how to manage your money, how to set expectations, meet expectations, all of that kind of stuff. And that's not really stuff that you learn in school. And so the internship, especially an internship in payroll and HR, was really helpful because it I saw all of that and it wasn't necessarily applicable to me. So I got to watch how other people interacted with the working world at large over and over again before I even had my own, big boy 40-hour a week job after my
Yeah.
internship. So it's a bit of a mixed bag. I felt pretty prepared, but I think I was in kind of a unique situation with that internship to really get my eyes opened to all
Hmm.
the different things that you really do need to know, being in the workplace for the first time.
Yeah, yeah, it's so interesting. One of the things that people who are um, making some kind of career change usually ask me, especially it's like people who are going into analytics from something else. They're like, there are so many like products, like so many different software suites. What do I need to know? And I'm like, the entry level, nothing. You have to be a piece of clay, and they
Yes,
will mold you into what they want. You'll learn
absolutely.
stuff just by well, a lot of it is like, hey, I'm gonna drop this off on your desk, either literally or figuratively, and I need this stuff by the end of the week. It's like, what is this stuff? I don't know. Figure it out.
Yep. Yep.
Figure it out. Have fun with that.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Well, and there's, that entry level period, there's no better time to try things out and fail, right? Because those, like you said, those expectations are low. They're just kind of throwing something at you because they don't know what to do with it. They want it
Yeah.
done. This is a real great opportunity for you to try a bunch of stuff, see what works, see what doesn't work, and then eventually start to kind of create your own toolkit of, oh, I know how to do this and this and this, and if I put them all together, 10 years from now, that becomes that muscle memory.
Oh
um,
yeah, definitely, definitely, man. So how long were you there at Georgetown Hospital?
so I was at Georgetown for, I want to say, going on 4.5, maybe 5 years.
Wow.
So a good chunk of time, maybe four, closer to
Yeah.
four.
Yeah.
um,
What prompted you to find a different role?
Healthcare, I really do love healthcare as an industry. It's such
Hmm.
a complex and uh, difficult industry to be in because you're constantly balancing patient care with running a
Mhm.
business. And that's those are almost like oil and water. They really don't always mix. And so it's such an interesting place to be. But one of my biggest challenges there was that healthcare is decades behind other industries.
Really?
And so oh yeah. And so when I was in healthcare, we were, there were still practices that were on paper records, like we weren't digital records everywhere. I don't think we are today either, but that was still a big journey happening at that point. And that was, 2015, 2016. Like we're
Oh my
still,
gosh.
you know, so
That's
it's
crazy.
decades behind. And so I naturally have a bit of a problem solving brain.
Mm.
If I see something wrong, I don't like that it's wrong and I want to fix it. I'm going to figure out how to fix it and I'm going to try to fix it. And I think that energy when you're first coming out of school is something that can be very intense. You can come in and be like, there's all these problems and I'm going to fix them, but you're fresh and you don't understand enough context around those problems and why they
Yeah.
exist, right?
Yeah.
And so when you're just throwing your energy at that, it can be pretty wearing. And being on the other side of that,
Mhm.
that relationship, I've seen it happen plenty of times. And so
Mm.
there were a lot of problems that I really wanted to get my hands around and really wanted to fix. And when it didn't make the priority list, I didn't
Mhm.
understand. And I took that very hard. And being so far behind, it was, the problems that they were solving were things that could easily be solved just by going a little bit more into the digital realm, right? Like instead
Mhm.
of printing out our budgets, what if we just put it on SharePoint, right?
Mhm.
Little things like that. And I think it was towards the end there. I was managing the budgets for my department and kind of pushing all of those forward, and it was really tough, that rub of being like, can we just do one thing to make this better? And your leaders and your executives are like, look, we can't breathe. We are running a clinic here and
Mm.
I just need these budgets done. Let's
Yeah.
think about it for next year, right? And so when you get
Yeah.
enough of those, it gets to be a little wearing. And when you don't have that ability to take a step back and be like, you know what, they're right. The patient care has to be the priority here. We need to just breathe on our on
Yeah.
our business efficiency and all of the amazing things I want to do.
Yeah.
Um, it can be tough, and so I think that really drove me out of there, feeling like we weren't quite stagnant, but we weren't moving at the speed that I wanted to in terms of
Yeah.
improving everything.
Yeah, it's so tough. Like, I have a brain like that, where I want to always improve something. I always want to automate something.
Yeah,
And when people are like, or leadership, they're like, nah, let's not do that. You just keep doing it the manual way because I don't want to spend money on these things, or I
yeah.
don't want you to not focus on these things. I'm like, what? What? Like, no,
What do you
no.
mean? Yeah,
Yeah. So like I remember being handed, I don't know, it's like 20 or something, 30. No, it was like 40 Excel reports. And they're like, hey, you need to refresh all these. They got they have a SQL query, you know, Power Query, going on. Some of them are referencing other Excel files, and I'm like,
yeah,
and they're like, oh yeah, you need to go in there and refresh these each week. Here's the cadence, the tempo, whatever, Mondays, Tuesdays, whatever. And I was like, they said, "Yeah, you got to do that manually." I said, "You know what? Absolutely not." So I automated it all. I
sounds
automated
very
it all. I was
familiar.
like, "I'm not doing that." I was like, "Are you kidding me?" I said, "I can be putting those clicks somewhere else. Click
Yeah,
on something
absolutely.
else. I can do something else other than
Oof.
just like open this one and refresh it and then copy here and paste there." I'm like, "How about I make the computer do that for me?" You know?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, no. So anyway, and my coworkers are amused with that, and I'm like, yeah, that's the way it is for me. I don't know what to tell you,
Yeah.
but oh man, you know what? I forgot to ask you about something. I went real quick, to look at your LinkedIn, and there was something about you that about your journey that I forgot about when I first read your LinkedIn profile. I was like, wait a minute, this guy did like you did. It says customer support specialist
Oh
for
yeah.
computer issues. I'm like, what? You have the patience of a saint. You have to. You have to have
Yeah.
it.
A good old help desk. Yes, that
Oh my
is
gosh.
where, yeah, you were put through the fire there for
Oh
sure.
yeah.
That was my university help desk. That was the first, maybe not the first job I had, but the longest job. The job that I had for the most. I did it for the kind of last 3 years of my undergrad, and it was a trial. But the people that I met there and the skills that we gained just from being able to deal with these people who are sometimes just being a jerk, sometimes just at their rope's end, and
Hmm.
they just want to get their password fixed. I mean, we were even dealing with facilities uh, workers who didn't have computers, and so
Oh,
they barely knew how to do that, and they had to have a
oh
password to
boy.
get into their pay slips or to look at their pay
Yeah.
stubs, right?
Yeah.
And so it was such a crash course in how to deal with people, how to de-escalate situations, how to
Oh yeah.
fix things on the fly, how to make things work. I mean, it was a brutal 3 years, but it was also an incredible. I don't think at the time you realize how much you're learning and how much you're kind of absorbing of that until you
Yeah.
get later on and you're like, wow, that we were really doing some good work there.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Well, kudos to you, man, because I I see all these IT memes. So yeah, I may or may not like follow some accounts on social media that are like IT memes. And like the one of them is like people want to know why this guy is grumpy all the time. Well, he just had to drive, he drove like an hour to the office to turn on a computer because the person on the other end of the line was like, no, it's on, it's on, it's on. And he went over there, drove an hour, went over there, turned the computer on, turned around, and drove home. And it's like, oh, that's why he's grumpy all the time.
Yeah,
It's like what?
100%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would always like make fun of those situations or whatever. And then I have to admit that last week I was in that situation. I was that guy. I'm like, no, it's plugged in. It's
Oh
plugged.
no.
No. So I at work I have this like this docking station, and
Mhm.
it's the power cord is like in the wrong place. I don't understand. I kick it every day, and it's like the power cord is like a laptop cord, right? So it comes thick out of the thing, and then it hits that thing, the big rectangular thing, and then it goes and it's plugged in like way over there.
Yeah.
So it's kind of stretched already. And then I
Yep.
just kind of bump it every now and then. They're like, "Oh, is the light on the dock on?" I'm like, "No, it's not on. What the heck is wrong with this thing? It was just on." And they're like, "But is it plugged?" Oh, of course it's plugged in. What do you think I'm an idiot? I didn't say that to him, but I was like thinking to myself, God, why would you ask me that? And then I went under my desk and I was like, boop, and I said, "Hey,
Oof.
I'm an idiot. Have a good day." I'm like, ah, I became
Oh
one of those
man.
guys. Oh, it was so awful. It was so awful. It was
Oh
like
no.
really a shot to my ego, which was actually probably really a good thing for me. Because I mean,
Just a little humbling.
yeah, you can never let your head get so big that you can't get out the door.
Yeah.
So anyway, I was like, okay, yeah, I'm that guy. Ah. So yeah. So while you were at Georgetown, you
Mhm.
started to get into, you were talking about like financial stuff, right?
Yeah.
So did you take any classes in school to like go, hey, you know what, I'm gonna do like financial analysis? Um,
Yeah. Yeah. So in as part of my major, we had to get a general business minor. And
okay.
so I was actually taking accounting and finance classes, um, and then taking a couple that I didn't need to take. It's actually pretty funny. Like, I think there were 2 different years that I almost completely switched majors, and I was too far down the road to be doing that to my loans. But it was
Yeah.
first, it was math, because there was just something about the numbers and the way that we were learning math in college that really really spoke to me.
Mm.
But then I was taking these finance and accounting courses, and I started to take a few more that I didn't need, and I almost switched to quantitative finance because it just checked so many boxes in my brain.
Mm.
So I got a
Yeah.
lot of exposure to some basic accounting and finance. I like to say, I think between undergrad and getting my MBA, the accounting and finance that you learn at an institution is so different than what you do in practice. It's all the terms are the same, but there's a lot more to it when you actually do it in practice.
Mm.
So I got a good taste of it in undergrad, and then that kind of carried me into Georgetown, where yeah, eventually I transitioned away. I think that the HR stuff was really repetitive. Once you get a handle on it, it was very the world was pretty static, I would say,
Oh,
in the
okay.
HR world. And so I was also at the same time doing all of our journal entries, our accruals, kind of
Oh,
that kind of
yeah.
stuff. And I was like, oh wait, no, that's a little bit more interesting. Hey, can I do our monthly P&Ls? Can I do our monthly reporting? Things like that. And so suddenly I just started to shift into the finance role, and that was, I think, a much better fit for me.
Yeah, that's so interesting because I have talked to so many people who are like in analytics who started out in something, you know, not like analytics at all.
Yeah.
No analysis, nothing. But then they got like a project or some kind of assignment that made them start to think, you know what? I like solving puzzles. Yes, that's
Yeah.
that's what it is. And then whatever it was, whether it was like people analytics or finance analytics or whatever the case may be, they just started to gravitate toward that way. And then like you see them along their journey and it's like, oh, senior analyst, lead analyst, and they're like director of analytics. It's like, hey, how did you get there from over there? And a
Yeah.
lot of times it's like, I just got a taste,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's like I just couldn't put it down, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I
Crazy.
think it's such an interesting. I know, and where we work together at Cross Country. I'm not going to jump too far ahead, but so many of our teammates were the very same way. Where it was, we many of us started in accounting and finance, or other business disciplines there, and then for our team in particular, we were like, "Ooh, this data stuff is really cool," and it didn't matter what tools we didn't know at the time, because I think at that point all the tools were different and changing every week, it felt like. But if you had a solid foundation in understanding how a business worked and how a finance function worked, an accounting function, anything like that, you just did so much better. It was so much easier for you to pick up the analytics work.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think you were jumping too far ahead. But like, okay, so like I was one of the people who went from like insurance analytics to my first consulting gig was like at a boutique BI consulting firm, right? Business intelligence consulting. And so I know I had to do all kinds of like advanced stuff that I thought I was good at. And then they're like, oh, hey, take this test, get this certification. I'm like, oh my gosh. And it took me what I felt like forever. And then when I got there, I went from being, really sharp guy on my team to being like feeling like this is my first rodeo. So,
Mm.
what was the transition like for you going from financial analyst to consultant? Was there anything that you had to do to be able to make yourself qualified for
Mm.
that role?
Yeah, I think that transition in particular was a big leap for me. I came into cross country directly into finance transformation. So I was kind of coming out of finance, going into finance transformation, very quickly figured out that the finance that I was used to doing is not what these companies were doing. They were operating at a whole different level. And so it was the Wild West for me. I mean, truly, I didn't know what I was walking into. And so I had a couple good mentors while I was there who kind of helped be like, no, it's okay. Like, come ask me questions at any point. But I really just took the opportunity to dive right in. I mean, like, understand every little thing. Everything's about billable hours and in consulting, but I was spending hours just trying to figure out what was going on outside of what I could build because I was just trying to get up to speed. It was a bit of a jarring experience, but it was also incredible growth. I think that growth that you feel when you first get your first job and you're starting to learn how the world works, I was kind of getting a resurgence of that as I moved into consulting, of all of these options of how things worked and, ways that I could interact with them. But what consulting also demands, but also teaches, is customer focus, right? Everything that you do, you have to keep the customer in mind. And that was not something that I was familiar with at the time. And I was terrified of going in front of a client for the first couple of weeks. But where we were, our teams were big on everyone, speak up for the work that you do. We will recognize the work that you do, and we want our clients to recognize it. And I think that was a difficult thing for me to do because it was so scary to be like, I just build a database. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm just here. It's fine, But there were, it was quite a learning curve, I would say, that if I had not come in with the idea of kind of reinventing my career and shifting that trajectory a little bit, it would have been overwhelming.
Yeah, for me, I think my favorite thing is getting in front of people. Like it's like, hey, let's have a conversation, and people are like, oh my gosh, you're coming on so strong. I'm like, hey, I'm friendly. What do you want from me? And like the hardest thing for me was focusing and learning like new things, right? Because I want to be so engaged with people.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's funny because I worked somewhere where my director would do like open office hours on Friday and would try to teach technical people to be more personable, which I was like, and I was required to go to that meeting, and I kept my camera off and my microphone on mute because I'm like, I could just talk through this whole thing. It's fun to me. Let me tell you how it's fun to me, right?
Yeah.
And people were like, So it's funny. It was also, it was a learning experience for me getting into like technical consulting. And then I don't know, I've had a lot of shifts since then, but this is not about me, it's about you. So we're not talking about my career. Not today. That's for another time. But anyway, so I think when you think about job changes, there's always like a different role at a different company. There's always like big things that you have to learn. Cultural differences,
Yeah.
methodology differences, learning how to communicate. Like what are people's like best channels of communication? Some people like passive aggressive. I don't understand it. I actually hate it. I'm like, I am retired military. Speak to me directly, with the knife hand. So, using metaphor. I don't know. What are we talking about? We talking about poetry? But like those are some big things that people are usually nervous about going into a different role, right? But going into a role in a different industry and different function, that takes something else. Let me tell you.
Yeah. It's a big decision to make that leap. And sometimes it can often feel like you're forced out of it, right? Or forced into it, right? If you're really At least in my experience, I was really ready to leave healthcare behind and go, use some of my skills elsewhere. But that decision was not easy to make.
Yeah.
Healthcare was my home, probably still is my home. I think if we had the jobs that I'm doing now in healthcare, and I probably would consider it.
Yeah.
But those big shifts, you really have to make that decision, and you have to, like, both feet have to go in that direction.
Yeah.
You can't pull your punches when you're doing it.
Yeah. No half stepping. So,
Yes.
um, real quick. So I don't usually ask people to give advice in the middle of like what they're talking about, but I've had quite a few people ask me like, "Hey, why would I consider going into consulting, or why would I not
Mm,
consider it?" So I want this to end like that part to end on a positive note. So I want you to give me
yeah.
3 cons of being
Okay.
consulting, working in consulting, and then 3 pros, good pros. I
Mm.
know some good pros, but I also know some really bad cons. So
Yeah, I would say the number one con, and this is not groundbreaking at all, you have to be very good at work-life balance, or you're going to burn out.
yeah.
Consulting will take everything you will give it. It's just kind of the nature of that industry. And so if you aren't good with your work-life balance, you're going to get burnt out, eaten alive, whatever saying you want to use there.
Mhm.
That would kind of be my first one. The hmm,
That's like a really good one. That's like a really like I thought I was having a heart attack a few years back.
hmm,
And so I went to go get checked out, and it turns out that I was stressed out. Oh, yeah, imagine that.
yeah,
I'm like, oh, okay.
yeah. It will really get to you. I think that is probably the second con, is the stakes feel a lot higher in
Oh
consulting.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Your deadlines are fixed. Your quality of work is so high.
Mhm.
Your deliverables are often larger than they probably should be,
Oh yeah.
for a given timeline, and so that stress just eats away with away at you. And you want to progress your
Yeah.
career, and you've got to deliver on that, and you've got to go above and beyond. And so I think that work life balance, and then the stress that comes alongside just the work that you do.
Mhm.
um, and that's just the nature of the work, and I'm just sliding all of these cons together. But the I would say my third one is kind of the uncertainty of consulting. You are often at the mercy of the economy. So I think during our time there were
Yeah.
probably 2 rounds of layoffs that happened.
Yeah.
And we were relatively lightly hit compared to other
Oh
firms in the
yeah.
industry. And
Oh yeah.
your job is dependent on a contract being there to pay for you.
Mhm.
And in consulting, you're expensive. So
Mhm.
every hour that you spend is, analyzed and dissected 14 different ways and going elsewhere. And so when the economy starts to go bad, or your clients don't want to pay for that amount, and your contract dries up, you better hope there's another contract there. You better work your butt off to get another one, or continue the work. And one of the misconceptions that I had was, when I first started there, it wasn't really my problem to find myself work. I had to
Mhm.
be open to work, but I didn't have to find it. And I think
Oh.
as I continued with the firm, I realized how much everyone on the team facing the client had to just be looking for it. You didn't have
Yeah.
to sell people. You didn't have
Yeah.
to, be like, "Hey, so what's, you want me to come look at that? It'll be, 10 hours of my work." But it was, everyone had to pitch in. And I remember you and I had a very frank conversation after those layoffs of,
Mhm.
we wish we could have done more, because
Mhm.
the people that left our team
Yeah.
were okay, we're laid off from our team, not left. But
Yeah.
the people that were laid off, like, could we have done more? Could we have found more work? Could we have spread the work different? Like all of
Yeah.
this stuff. And you and I were probably, senior consultant manager, whatever we were
Yeah.
at the time. And yeah, it was a team effort, but
Yeah.
that reality is kind of a big con. You're really, yeah, it's not something that you experience in other industries,
Yeah.
usually, I would say.
No, definitely, definitely. I would say that like because in like non-consulting roles, the work was there. The work was always there, and you're going to get paid regardless, right?
Right.
But when it comes to consulting, man, you got to look for opportunities and everything to the like, get some hours here. Maybe the client's going to buy more hours for this. Maybe this they want some project done and they don't have the expertise to do it, but they're going to pay somebody, and it's like, hey, let that be me. um,
Exactly.
it was tough. I kind of like giggled at the con that you said before because I used to get so mad. Like I'm coming to the end of my billable hours and I'm nowhere near being finished, and I'm like,
Mhm.
who scoped this? What is this?
Guilty.
It's like,
Usually it
oh
was
my
me.
gosh. It's like, oh my gosh, are you serious? I'm like six
Yeah.
hours left and I have like 60 hours of work left. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh. And then I
Mm.
start thinking, was I being efficient with my time? Was I not being efficient with my time? And just eat myself alive, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You you have to walk in with so much confidence, but that exact situation really just kind of tears at it. You're like, wait,
Yeah.
should I be doing this quicker? Am I really worth this dollar amount that they are paying for me hourly if I can't even get this work done in the time I'm supposed, all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. It's really, you have to wrestle with a lot of demons while you're doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, some are rough. Okay, so enough with the negative, man. Let's
Yeah.
hear the
Yeah.
positives. Let me hear some of the pros. And if you don't name the ones that I can think of off the top of my head, I'm
Okay.
gonna throw them out there too.
All right. I would say the best thing that I took out of consulting was a clear understanding of self and my worth in the workplace, my strengths, my skills, how to communicate those, how to articulate those, how to fit them in, how to pull back when I'm not the right fit. You go through so many projects in consulting that
Mhm.
you have to like rapid fire assess, okay, how do I fit in here? What can I do? What's the right approach? All of that happens eventually through muscle memory. But you don't do that in other industries necessarily. Usually you're assigned somewhere and you just do what you do. But in consulting, it was so fluid and so dynamic that you just had to figure it out as you went. And that led to me really understanding what I brought to the table. My strengths, the different styles that I could bring to bear, how to work with different types of people, how to keep a client happy, how to deliver bad news. I mean, all of these things were honed as part of consulting. And I really think there's no better grindstone than consulting to really sharpen those skills and really find out who you are. Because you go through it so often.
Yeah, there's nothing like that sharpens you quite like trauma. So
Hey, I thought we were keeping it positive.
I'm just joking. I'm just joking. No, it's like the times when you're like really stretched and you're really, you have to go beyond like your own experience, and
Yeah.
you have to learn from others and communicate with others. And those are like the, stretching and growing parts. Those are always it's always painful, but
Yeah.
at the other end of it, you're like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. I didn't know I could do that. I didn't
Yeah.
know how I could do it, right? But then, you go through a gauntlet,
Yeah.
and at the other end, looking like,
Yeah, those lessons learned looking real good.
Oh, yeah, man. All right, you got any other pros?
I do, yeah. The work. I before I went into consulting, I had no concept of what quality work was, but also what is a deliverable? Like, how do I
Oh,
deliver
yeah.
something? How do I conceptualize something of value? How do I make sure that it always maintains that value to a client? How do I communicate its value? And so you approach work differently in consulting. It's all about projects and SOWs, unless you're doing like staff augmentation. Um, but you really, especially when I got into creating, SOWs and scoping work and putting all of these things together, you start to understand, you put your playbook together of like, what does a good job here mean? What do I need to do that? How do I structure that? How do I
Yeah.
present that to somebody who I have to sell on the idea? And so you really think about work differently. And it drives you to be able to create these things quicker. I think the benefit now is that I can spin up something fairly high quality very quickly because I've done it
Yeah.
before. I know the steps. Every problem is different, but the steps that you employ to actually solve the problem are the same. And so you
Yeah.
change the details around, and now you've got this great product because you had to do it 50, 60 times in a year, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, your relationship with work and your understanding of work, I think,
Mm.
evolves through consulting.
Yeah. Yeah. So let me throw out a few of my own, some pros. So one of them is I loved working with people from all different industries. So
Hmm.
like I could have a project with like a company that's known for making a certain kind of bread or breads or whatever, whatever that is, right? And it's like, oh man, so then they tell me about their problem and then I, help them solve it. And then like 6 weeks later or whatever however, long the engagement was, then I'm over somewhere else and it's a newspaper company, with their like accounting, and then it's like, oh, this stuff. And then somewhere else, 6 weeks later, 8 weeks later, then it's like, you know, somebody who's like doing construction management or
Yeah.
whatever, so it's like all these different things. And so one like being a people person, I was like, yeah, hey, let's connect on LinkedIn. And I went from when I was not in consulting, before consulting, I had like maybe like 200, maybe 300 connections on LinkedIn. And then when I exited, it was like over 1,000, right? It's like, because
Yep.
every time I went on an
Yeah.
engagement, I was like, hey, I know you. I just met you in a meeting. Nice to meet
Yeah.
you. Let's stay connected. And it's been very interesting because now I have all these people, not only the people that I worked with in the different client engagements, but also the people that I worked with at the two consulting firms, and they all are spread out in all these different industries. And if I have somebody who is like, hey, I'm looking for a role in this one industry, do you know anybody? Hey, let me check my Rolodex, right? And you're like, I'm like looking through LinkedIn, and it's like, yeah, I know like a few people who are in this industry. I'll introduce you. I can't promise that you're gonna get a job out of it, but I can tell you
Yeah.
that they could probably if they answer back, you can have a chat with them. And I've been able to do that and been able to actually help a couple of people get jobs, but really just like helping people get information. And so, yeah, like networking, it's great. I love it, right?
Yeah.
Working in different industries all the time, deliverable is like 6 weeks, boom, 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 boom. There you go. That's your deliverable. On to the next, boom, 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 boom,
Yeah.
on to the next. I think that for some people, um, I think that for some people, routine is what makes them get out of bed. I know this.
Yeah.
I know that's what gets some people out of bed because I was in the military for 20 years, and it's not because of routine, because for me, that's not what it is. Routine to me is like
Mm.
slow spiraling death. And so I was I was in the Air Force for 20 years, but I had like several different jobs, and it's like I couldn't I know people who like pretty much had the same job for 20 years, and I'm like, that would be like pulling my fingernails out, you know? one by one, like really slowly. That's terrible. But yeah, so one thing about having a routine and doing the same thing over and over again. If you like that, I would suggest do not go to consulting. That'll be
Agreed.
your absolute worst nightmare.
Yep.
But if you enjoy all these different things, variety and
Yeah.
like speed, like tempo changes. Oh, you've got to go fast. Oh, I got to go slow down. Got all these things, and like juggling a bunch of things. Consulting is for you. I know
Yeah.
people who cannot sit still, cannot just do one thing, and
Yeah.
they thrive in
Yeah.
consulting. So yeah, and then I would say probably one of the things that draws it doesn't keep you there for long, but it draws people's eye is you make bank. You can make a
Mm,
lot more money consulting than you can in the same type of job
yeah.
in like an industry, right? So let's say like a senior analyst, right? You're like a business intelligence analyst. You're making right now, I don't know, depends like what market, this and that. Let's say we'll go averages. You're making like say 85 to like maybe 105, maybe 110 if you're lucky, or if you live in a really expensive area and it's
Yeah.
110 and then you're living in a cardboard box. But yeah, you know what I'm talking about, DC, right? So like,
Yeah.
85, 110, and like 110, you're like tapped out as a senior analyst. And then you go into consulting and they're like, oh, we like you as a senior consultant. And then you're like, your pay band is a little bit different there. Depending on what the firm is, how big it is, all the different things, you could be making from like 110 to 135,
Yeah.
and it's like, whoa. And for some people, it's life changing. And
Yeah.
for me, it was life changing. Going from senior analyst for like 3.5 years into like consultant. And then it was like, hey, by the way, this is what we're offering. I'm like, ah. They're like,
Yeah.
is that okay? I'm like, ah. It was like a 40% raise.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but the thing is, money does not solve your problems. If you
Yeah.
have a lot of problems and then you get money, you just have money with a lot of problems. it's just, it's no,
Yeah. Well,
that's just
I
life.
there to a certain degree, right? I think money,
Yeah.
when you're struggling financially, having that little bit of extra money can actually solve some problems,
Yes.
right?
No. Yeah.
But
Okay.
you hit a
Yes.
certain threshold and you're like, I realized I started to question, like, is this money worth it? Is this overtime budget worth it? Like, is this overtime money worth it? Is this contract going to be worth it? Because I'm going to kill myself if I'm like working these 80-hour weeks to
Oh,
fulfill it,
yeah.
right? So you start, like, once you're absolutely right. Like, you start to make that money at that certain point, then you start to question, be like, is this worth it? I have what I need to live. Is this worth it now? But consulting is a great place to start to figure that out. Like, what's worth my energy versus what is not worth it.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I think for both of us, clearly, we got to a point where it was time to step
Yeah.
away from
Yeah.
consulting. But
Yeah.
I mean, there were great years
Oh,
of
yeah.
nice money coming in because we were killing it on the
Yeah.
like. It was, yeah,
Yeah, and I had a great time, but sometimes like when I didn't have a great time, I was not having a great time, if that makes any sense. But so
yeah,
Brian says, I've never been wired for repetition either. I totally get it. I would say the grind of business development is what scares me off consulting. Fair, fair. Perhaps on the backside of my career, though. Yeah, it's definitely not for everybody. There are challenges like we just talked about, but like sometimes hey, you just gotta weigh. You just have to weigh it. Put it on the scales
yeah,
and say, hey, what's it gonna cost, and is it worth it?
yeah. Yeah, I think there was absolutely a path that I could see for myself in consulting.
Yeah.
Like, I easily could have seen it. I had the reputation, I had the skills, I knew the people, and I knew that I could be coached to do that. And especially, Brian mentioned, that business development end, that becomes increasingly more important. I know we were talking about what we could have done in our, our limited ability to do it, but even we were talking about it at a low end. But when it gets to that higher end and you're later in a career in consulting, that is the most important thing that you do is that business development. And that was actually my other pro was, I learned very quickly that authenticity was my path to success in terms of business development, but also in terms of running teams. I very quickly learned that sales and consulting was not the used car salesman down the street. It was built off of authentic relationships with their clients and actually delivering them work and being realistic with them. I think at Cross Country, I actually started in automation before I came into the data analytics space. And automation was huge. Everyone was viewing it as this kind of RPA was the panacea. It was going to solve everything for everyone. It sounds very familiar to something present day, but that's okay. And I remember realizing that automation wasn't going to solve some of these problems for their client, and talking to one of my mentors there, Danny Green, and he was like, then tell them that. Tell them this is not the right fit.
Yeah.
But come to them with solutions. And so realizing that being authentic with somebody was actually more important than being a used car salesman, like building a relationship based around that authenticity was going to get you more in the long run, made me much more comfortable with that side of consulting, to be honest. And I know that's not everyone's approach. Some people do like to just, sell the farm when they go in and burn, to the detriment of their teams underneath them, right? So, sell work that too big, too complex, too risky, and then their teams have to pick up the slack. And that's not my method. Thankfully, I worked with people that
scoped this. Who scoped this?
Wasn't me. What are you talking about?
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I think that it's a good way to find out how to be your authentic self and how to network organically without having to do that. Because I'm not shocker. I'm not like you, Tito. I'm actually pretty introverted. And so walk into a room and immediately make friends. I mean, I remember our first conversation ever, and I was like, oh, I like this guy. You just have this ability to do that. And I don't necessarily have that. But what I found was like that authentic self gets you so much farther than putting on airs, being someone you're not. Because people can kind of sniff that in the air. They can tell.
Oh yeah. Definitely. Man, I could talk to you all night, but dude, it's almost been an hour. This is pretty crazy.
Oh my gosh.
a lot of the like recent episodes, we've been going like 35, maybe 40 minutes or whatever. But I think I looked up and it was already like 45. I was like, oh man, we're not even, wow, that's crazy. Whatever. Man, it's cool. It's cool. It's fun catching up with you.
Yeah.
And it was good to hear like your take on I don't know. I've never asked that before, but I think because we have like shared history, it was good to ask, because people have asked me, what's in it? What's in it for me for consulting? I'm like, good and bad. Let me tell you.
Yes. Mixed bag.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen people be very successful. And I'm like, I don't know what they're doing in their free time, but maybe I need some of that. I don't know. I just know, it was a humbling experience for me, for sure. For sure. So anyway, I wanted to thank you, for coming on the show and like, not just talking about your journey, but like giving us some nuggets of wisdom and sharing your experience, because I think it's so valuable to be able to share information with people who are looking to change jobs, looking to change their careers, and just don't know how to get there, don't know what's going to be expected of them. And I feel like storytelling is one of the best ways to do it. Maybe it's because I'm a storyteller. I don't know. I just know that my sisters always tell people, "Hey, if you're going to ask Tito a question, you have to say in 3 sentences or in 6 sentences, explain to me what's what XYZ is." And I'm like, what? I can't do that. And they're no, no, no. In 3 sentences or less, explain. I'm like, oh, it's getting even worse. But yeah, storytelling I think is one of the best ways to do it. So anyway, before we sign off,
Yeah.
because we're about to sign off, I want to ask you one more thing. If if there's somebody out there who's looking to make a change in their career, whether it's like just like a little shift or like a major shift, um, what piece of advice would you give them?
Mm. Don't be afraid to make a mistake. Um, you, we can often, and I am guilty of this, we often feel like everything that we do is the most impactful and the most life altering and life changing thing. And if I don't do this right now, I'm I'm never going to recover. And don't be afraid to make that mistake. Go try it. The worst thing that could happen is that you don't like it and you're here again, but don't be afraid to try things, to stretch, to go outside what you can do. Be realistic with people. Like, don't lie about your experience, but
Yeah.
don't say no to something or say, you know what, I'm going to stay in my current job, my current industry, because it's too scary to do that elsewhere. Um, because there's time. You can there. It doesn't always feel like it, but you can always come back. You can always shift again to not be cute.
All right, I'm gonna put that in the chat. It's paraphrasing, like super paraphrasing, super duper paraphrasing. So it's actually, I don't think it shows up on LinkedIn, but it'll show up on the YouTube channel
All
for ever till the end of time, till the end of YouTube, whichever one comes first. So it's right here, and that is by Eric. Oh no, wait. Eric pie chart.
I'll never leave it behind.
Yeah, no. Oh, yeah. Hey, thanks for tuning in, Brian. I'm guessing that's one of your homies, huh?
He is. He is. I will see him tomorrow, and I will say
Okay,
thank you for
cool.
tuning in.
All right.
But
All right.
thank you for having me. This is a
Yeah,
great platform, and I really love what you're doing. I love the message that you have, and I love the storytelling. So thank you for creating a platform for that.
man, I appreciate it. Hey, so I'm gonna end the stream, but don't hang up yet, because Eric. I mean
Yeah.
everybody else, I'm gonna hang up on you. So, but Eric, don't hang up yet, because I want to talk to you in the studio. But I need to look at my schedule real quick. Who is next? Uh-oh, I hit the wrong button. Where are we? Who is next? I need to be more prepared on these things. But I'm leaving in like 2 days. So okay. So yeah, we have another friend of mine from the DC area, Quinn Wynn. So stop doing that. We just met, man. Oh man. No, so next time in 2 weeks, because I'm gonna be out of town next week. But in 2 weeks, we're gonna have my friend Quinn Wynn on. I used to work with her at Data Meaning back in the day, and also not so long ago, because I worked there twice. Which, hey, people do it. But that's gonna be another good combo. So hey, tune in. Until then, have a good one. Peace.